Would it be cruel to tell your biological mother that she isn't mom to you? We'll find out, but first, am I the jerk for walking out of my husband's birthday party after he started laughing at me? I, female 32, just completed my treatment for a medical issue that affected my body. I'd gained weight due to this medical condition and also medication, and none of my old clothes were fitting anymore. I bought new fitting clothes, but for my husband's birthday party, he asked me to wear one of my old dresses that was one of his favorites. To appease him, I said yes, although I didn't feel comfortable wearing it, especially after the weight gain. He was at the restaurant with his family and friends when I arrived with my sister. As soon as he saw me walking in, he busted out laughing. He pointed at the dress and was going hysterical, saying, "Oh my God." I felt so incredibly mad, especially when the others started laughing as well. One of his friends started whistling in a mocking tone. I turned around instantly and walked out, and my sister followed me. I went home and cried a little, but he kept calling non-stop. He came home and started talking about how oversensitive I was and that it was just a natural reaction he had upon seeing me in this dress again after all this time. He said I overreacted and made a scene over nothing. He also said I ruined his birthday and urged me to get therapy for this oversensitivity that I'm inflicting upon him. Am I the jerk? Did I overreact? He's so upset he's refused to even receive the gift. Considering OP clarified that it wasn't like his breath was taken away, it wasn't a good, oh my God. It was a giggling one. I think OP's not the jerk. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy hard-hitting, tough-to-answer Am I the Jerk Here stories, then why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my sister 50% of my small business? I started a small business in July of 2020, and about 8 months in, I hired my older sister to do some administrative work for me. She recently had a baby and wasn't planning on returning to work, but still needed a little money. She asked if there was anything she could do to help the business, and I said yes. Her responsibilities included answering some emails, organizing existing spreadsheets, and reaching out to other businesses, which was her background, but none of the reaching out led anywhere. She clocked about 5 to 8 hours of work per week, and I paid her $25 an hour. I still created the product for the client, answered follow-up emails from the client, handled the financials, and ran the social media and website. About a year in, we decided to do a rebrand. We hired someone to make a new logo, and I built a new website. About 5 months before the launch of the rebrand, she asked if we could get something in writing, an employment contract, and also expressed an interest in owning a part of the business. I told her we could definitely get something in writing, and I would think about the part ownership. 3 months later, I suggested a 70-30 split, to which she disagreed. She said she was looking for a 50-50. I said I was definitely not comfortable with a 50-50, and the highest I would ever go would be 51-49. She responded with, "What was the point of being a part owner when your decision would still be the final say?" Again, I told her I would think about it. 2 weeks before the launch of the rebrand, I was talking to my husband and made the comment about having to give her 50% to keep the peace. He advised me to write down my financial contribution to the company versus hers. Obviously, the financial, let alone time commitment, was staggering. I presented her with a spreadsheet of tiers to buy into the company, 10% for free, and then tiered payments all the way up to 49%. She was very angry, saying that I'd blindsided her, betrayed her, and even went as far as to say that she built my business. I've apologized for not bringing it up until the week before the launch, but she refuses to speak to me. She refuses to come to family Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it's tearing my family apart. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that it's already more than generous giving 49% of the company to them. And let's be real, I think most situations where you're 50-50, unless you're properly 50-50 here, you kind of need somebody to have that 1% so things can just kind of keep moving. A proper 50-50 split here, I feel, has the potential to be incredibly messy here. I think OP's not the jerk. They didn't even really do any of the groundwork to get the company to the point where it currently is. They didn't invest in it, they didn't take a loan out for the company. 49% is already beyond generous. This next story is, am I the jerk for leaving my baby shower early and causing a scene? I'm 32-year-old female, my husband of 7 years, 32-year-old male, and I are pregnant. We have one previous child, Anne, 6-year-old female, who has epilepsy. She's had one seizure before, relevant later in the story. To be honest, my mother-in-law is horrible. She gives backhanded compliments, insults me and my looks, and always tries to set my husband up with other people. The last time we went to her place, she said she could make my husband a Tinder account, or set him up with some girl who's the daughter of mother-in-law's best friend. My husband has told her to stop, but doesn't do anything else. Newsflash, she doesn't stop. When sending invites to my baby shower, I told my husband I didn't want my mother-in-law there. He told me, since you're not letting my own mother be in the room with you when you're giving birth, you have to invite her to this. You should be grateful that you get a baby shower at all. Also, he wouldn't even be at the baby shower as he has something at work. At the baby shower, I was telling everyone how our baby was once again a girl. My mother-in-law then decided to say, wow, another girl. Let's hope she's not like her sister. I asked what she meant by that, and she said, we don't need any other diseases in the family. Imagine seeing a newborn baby drop to the floor and shake everywhere. It's embarrassing. At first, I was honestly confused as she had clearly zero idea what she was talking about. But then the pregnancy hormones really kicked in, and I started crying hysterically. I left my friend's house and my mother drove me home. Once I got home, I saw my husband there. I didn't know why he was home and not at work, but I just didn't stop crying. He said, where are all the gifts? You do realize how expensive some baby things can be? I honestly couldn't believe he said that of all things. So I decided to lock myself in our bedroom. About 10 minutes later, he tells me he got a text from his mother explaining what happened. He told me that I caused a scene and should be happy I got to meet up with some friends today. I tried explaining how wrong what she said was and how he insulted our daughter, an unborn baby. He said, well, Anne's epilepsy medication isn't cheap, so I can see why she said what she said. You just interpreted it wrong. Apologize to my mother. I packed a bag and called my mother to pick me up. I'm currently at her place and she's picking Anne up from school. My husband and his family keep blowing up my phone and calling me a drama queen, along with other hateful names. So I need to ask, am I the jerk? I think OP's definitely not the jerk, and I feel like the husband has a clear-cut case of mama's boy syndrome. I guess they believe their mom is so infallible they're willing to try to twist things in their own mind to try to explain it away. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my stepdaughter she's lucky I treat her as my own? I, 44-year-old female, have 2 children with my husband, a 2-year-old boy, a 3-year-old girl, and a bonus daughter, 18-year-old female Emily. My stepdaughter Emily's been living with us for 6 months this past year. She moved in because she told us her mother kicked her out since they didn't have a good relationship, and her mother said she was too problematic. Since her moving in, I've been very welcoming, and I've spent more than enough money to help Emily get on her feet. This includes work shoes, comforter sets for her bed, hair products, clothing, and underwear. We told her that she could live here as long as she needed, but since her moving here, she's become a burden to both my children and I. My children and I are used to a regimen of waking up, spending time with my husband, him dropping them off to daycare, and he goes off to work. And when he gets home, I cook, clean, and we spend the rest of the night with the kids. My stepdaughter's become a burden. She's become entitled, and whenever she needs anything financially, she'll ask either myself or my husband. When I bought her work uniform, she kept the job for 3 weeks and then quit because she didn't like her coworkers. She's taken most of my savings, taken the time from my children to my husband, and used that time for herself and has been extremely unappreciative for what I've done for her. I told her that she needed to figure out a living plan because she is 18 and a legal adult and that she needs to start adulting. She mentioned how she was in school online, and I told her that wasn't enough since there are more hours in the day and she can do more than just be lazy all day and use her computer as an excuse. She told me that I'm jealous of her relationship with my husband, and I reminded her that she's living in our home rent-free. I told her that she should be lucky that I treat her as my own because not everyone would do such with their stepchild. I think OP is the jerk here. Is it really taking time away when it's the daughter of the person they're taking up the time of? And if OP's saying that school alone isn't enough and that there's more hours in the day, considering OP drops the kids off at daycare, their husband goes off to work, what does OP do all throughout the day? That's different. OP owns the house. OP doesn't have to do work. Does OP want to justify why they have the means to be lazy all day? I mean, I understand being upset about buying them a uniform and then they go and quit because they just don't like it there. But a lot of these other things that OP's trying to frame as treating them as if they're their own child, I don't think it really meets that level. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my niece my husband and I are not going to her birthday because my husband isn't welcome? I've been with my husband for 10 years. We've been married for 5 of those years. He suffered horrific trauma at the hands of his dad. His parents were married and expecting twins when his mom suffered some kind of hemorrhage, and she ended up with eclampsia. My husband's mom and twin sister did not make it, but my husband did after a period of time in the NICU. His dad told him it was his fault they died. He had grandparents who meant the world to him and tried to shield him from his dad's anger, but when he was 8 years old, they died also. His father then blamed him. He spent the next 10 years hearing day after day that he was the reason. At no point did he have another person to reassure him it wasn't. When we met, he had just started to heal. He was away from his dad and attending therapy. It was a very big fear of his that what his dad said was true. He is a wonderful man, and my nieces and nephews adore him. He was always so good with them and the rest of my family. In January 2020, I was pregnant and we went for a scan where we learned I'd miscarried. As soon as my husband heard this, something inside of him broke. He started to unravel. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis. He was doing this weird manic laugh that was also a sob. He ran out of the room and I followed after him concerned. My mom and sister both work at the hospital. Sister's a nurse while mom worked in the little gift store. Both saw him in this worst moment. They saw as medical personnel were forced to intervene because he was in the middle of a breakdown, hysterical and totally out of it. He was totally broken and nothing could reach him. It was the scariest moment of my life, the worst moment of his. And they judged him for laughing. Then when they told the rest of the adults in my family, they also judged him. All of my family were aware of his history. He told them about it years ago. My husband ended up under the care of a psychiatrist who suggested he needed a lot more help than therapy could provide. Instead of understanding, my family no longer wanted him around. They said a man who could laugh at his own wife's miscarriage was not the kind of man they wanted around the kids. I told them I would not leave him behind. My niece is turning 12 this year and is having her first big party since COVID. She called and said that she wanted us there, but she hadn't seen us on her mom's list. I told her we wouldn't be able to come and that I was sorry. We both were. She was upset and asked why she never saw us, why we wouldn't come to her birthday party, why we missed them all now. I told her that my husband was not welcome by the other adults in the family anymore. She apparently yelled at her parents and mine. Then I got crap from them for telling her what I did. They said I had no business saying that. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk for just telling the truth to their niece. If every single other adult in this family is utterly ashamed of the truth coming out to an innocent 12-year-old, then yeah, maybe they need to rethink about what they did in the way they're treating OP's husband. But OP and their husband are definitely not the jerks, and I hope things get better from them from here on out. Our next story is, am I the jerk for moving away from my parents after they gave away my cat without my consent? I loved my cat to death. His name was Milo, and he was more than just a pet to me. He was like another family member. My parents never liked my cat and constantly said that one day they would send him away while I'm away at work. I told them if they ever did something like that, I would pack my bags and move in with my friend from college. So I come back one day to see that my cat is nowhere to be found. I instantly assume the worst and confront my parents. To my shock, they told me they sold him away to some rando off Facebook, and they refused to give me the buyer's information. Feeling betrayed by my own parents, I quickly get all of my basic necessities and leave the following day to my friend's place. Now I'm getting constant text messages from my siblings calling me a terrible brother for leaving the house over a pet. Was I wrong to value my cat the same way I value my other family members? I think OP is definitely not the jerk. I would be feeling the same way as them, and I think OP didn't do enough. I think OP should have tried their best to get access to their Facebook accounts. I mean, the realistic thing, I don't think too many people buy cats usually. I think they more likely than not gave them away. At the worst, if you can somehow prove that this cat was your property, I would threaten calling the cops. What do you have to lose? I would also be checking around at shelters, because first of all, you can't even trust these parents to begin with. They probably lied about selling them. I mean, for all you know, maybe they drove a mile down the road and let the cat out. This next story is, am I the jerk for not covering Thanksgiving for a narc? At my workplace, we regularly bribe each other to trade shifts. Usually it's like a good bottle of wine or booze, or a gift certificate for a restaurant, but it can be cash. We keep it on the down low and it works. We do IT services for financial companies, so Thanksgiving weekend is sort of important. So one of my coworkers does not like to pay to trade shifts, but has before. They always complain about how it's not fair that people like me who are unmarried and have no kids get holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas off. Sorry ma'am, but even though I don't have kids, I am one. Maybe my parents want to see me too. So anyway, my parents are actually going to Bermuda this Thanksgiving because that's where my sister is, and she just had a baby. I would love to go, but I don't have enough vacation time to make it worthwhile. Instead, I have plans with friends. They aren't super important to me. We're just going to eat turkey and watch all the Thanksgiving episodes of Friends. I mentioned this to another coworker, and the other one overheard. It's her turn to be in the office and on call for the holiday. She couldn't find anyone to cover her shift. So she basically begged me to cover for her. I liked my plans, so I said no. She finally offered me money. Well, if The Simpsons have taught me anything, it's that money can be exchanged for goods and services. So we haggled and then agreed. She would take my New Year's Eve shift and give me a couple of $100 to cover her from Thursday to Sunday. Win-win, I thought. 2 days later, my boss comes over and asked me if I wanted to change the schedule, as I had agreed. I asked why he was getting involved, as we usually just handled it amongst ourselves. He said that he'd gotten a complaint that I extorted money out of a coworker for covering their shift. He said that while it wasn't against company policy, it was frowned upon. I said that I understood, and that no money had changed hands, and that no, I didn't want to change shifts. My boss was promoted from the ranks, so he knew the score. He knows how we trade shifts, so he was cool. My coworker, not so much. She started bugging me, saying that she had already told her parents that her family would be coming, and that I would be a jerk for not covering like I said I would. I told her that someone had gone to the boss and tattled on our deal, so I couldn't follow through since I could get in trouble. She said that I could do it for free. I declined. She said that she would pay me more than we agreed on. I said no thanks, I don't want any trouble. So now she's acting all pissy because I won't work for her, and now she's being shut out of the regular shift trading because everyone knows she tried to use the boss to screw me over. She says that I'm a jerk for not following through. I think she's a jerk for trying to change a deal she agreed to. I think it's completely reasonable the way they handle things here. This isn't extorting, this is making it worth their while. Extorting would be something that you're forced to do. OP isn't forcing them to do anything. Being annoyed and going to the boss is such an annoying thing. OP's definitely not the jerk. I would say after everything that went on, I would enjoy that day off even more so. This next story is, am I the jerk for keeping in the house children and teenagers until the police arrived and charged them? I, male, have a house with a pool that I rent on weekends or throw parties. The kitchen and swimming pool are on the outside. Friday, I went to the market to buy drinks, meats, and various things because Sunday there would be a party in the house, so the fridge had a lot of things. On Saturday, my brother called asking if I'd rented the house this Saturday for someone, and when I said no, he informed me that he passed by and heard very loud music in it, in addition to several voices. I asked him to meet me there, and I went with my husband. There were about 20 people enjoying the pool, drinking, and having a barbecue with my stuff. Apparently, they used a ladder to jump over the wall. The wall had a broken fence and will be replaced tomorrow. It's the only wall that faces the street. When they saw us, they started to get even more desperate that my brother had the ladder. They tried to escape, but we kind of protected the wall. The police had already been called, so we didn't want anyone to escape. Nothing happened to anyone to make it clear, they just tried to get past us to go to the lowest wall but couldn't. The police arrived. There were 7 children, 6 to 13 years old, 12 adolescents, 14 to 17 years old, and 1 adult, 39 years old. Those responsible for the minors were called, and this caused a mess as they started to accuse us of holding minors in my house when I'm not a police authority. The police gave me freedom to press charges or not. I said I just wanted the value of the items consumed, paid for a cleaning lady and cleaning the pool. Yes, it would cost a high value because the outside area was a mess and almost everything was used in the fridge. The adults began to say that just scolding from the police would be enough, and that I know how stupid young people can be, and begged me not to charge that amount as most of them were extremely poor. I stood by my decision, saying that they would have until today, Monday, to pay for my damage. Otherwise, I would press charges against everyone. Yes, I heard a lot of curses, but today, I received the full amount. My husband said that I was very harsh because I paid out of my pocket anyway, there was the party anyway, and that for us, there would be no difference with that money. But for extremely poor families, there would be. I really don't think it's fair to have this expense, despite being able to pay without any weighing on my pocket. Young people are stupid, but they still broke into a house, used everything in it, and left a mess. Am I the jerk? I think OP is not the jerk. And poor family or not, I'm sorry, but that doesn't excuse what they did, which was breaking and entering. That's a very serious thing. I honestly would have said if OP didn't hold them at least accountable for the stuff they used and the cleaning, that they would have been doing society a disservice. I mean, how in what world, kids or not, would it be okay to let them slide for breaking and entering? Our next story is, am I the jerk for having my daughter's first birthday the same day as my stepsister's wedding? My mom got remarried after my parents' divorce, and her new husband brought along my stepsister. I lived with my dad mostly because I didn't want anything to do with a new sibling, and had pretty much no relationship with her and hated that my mom treated her like a daughter. I wasn't the nicest to her, but I felt like she was taking my place. Fast forward to now, she's getting married. I wasn't invited since we have no relationship. Whatever, I didn't invite her to mine either. The issue is that I planned my daughter's first birthday, and when I told my mom, she said it can't be that day because it's my stepsister's wedding. And can we change it to the next weekend so people don't have to choose which to go to? I said no, my stepsister's wedding is at 8 p.m., my daughter's party is at 1 p.m. People can do both, but almost everyone on my mom's side RSVP'd no to her birthday party because of the wedding and travel. Even my own mother said she can't make it because she'll be at the stepsister's wedding getting ready all day. I'm pissed. How can she choose a stepdaughter over her own grandchild? Everyone's picking this girl who isn't even really family over my daughter. My mom says to just change the party, but I think it's ridiculous that they can't do both and won't change my schedule for my stepsister. And my daughter will be the one to suffer when not one of her family's at her first birthday party. Okay, so I think not only is OP the jerk for not just working around this and scheduling a day later or a day earlier, but OP is so loaded saying, oh, well, my daughter's gonna suffer. It's their first birthday party. They're not gonna remember it. Let alone the fact that you're trying to discredit somebody for being step family. Oh, they're not real family. Well, thanks for letting them know how you feel. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making my 16-year-old daughter get a job? I, 43-year-old female, have 5 kids, but only Rachel, 19-year-old female, and Rose, 16-year-old female, are important to this story. My kids are homeschooled. Rachel finished her A-levels at 18, like normal school, but Rose finished her A-levels at 16. She's unable to go to university straight away like Rachel, as they only accept 18 plus. So instead of letting my daughter lie in bed all day, watching TV like she started off with, I let her have a month break because she's worked hard. I got tired of it and told her it was time to get a job. It would look good for university, and she could start saving up some money for the future. She said that she doesn't want a job. She knows the university will want her as she has perfect grades, A or A star in all 4 of her A levels. I let her choose by herself for a month, but now I cannot deal with her lying in bed all day. I sat down with her and we made our university application together. I pointed out that she has no work experience, gently might I add, and then she started telling me to get off her back and she'll get a job soon. Rachel messaged me telling me that Rose is annoyed at me for always telling her to get a job and how it's unrealistic to expect a 16-year-old to get a job. I'm concerned I'm the jerk because she is 16, but I don't think I am because she can't expect to get into uni just because of her grades. She needs some kind of work experience as well. I'm actually confused here because the people have voted that OP is the jerk, but I think after letting them have a month or 2 off, kind of like a summer break, they have 2 years of nothing before they're 18. I think OP suggesting that they should look into getting a job or volunteering would be honestly the expected thing. Like, they might be mad and thinking, oh, OP's always nagging me to get a job, but I mean, are they trying to? Are they wanting to look into anything? What else is OP as a parent supposed to do other than encourage them to continue moving forward with their life instead of chilling out for the next 2 years? At least doing some volunteering work would look great on their CV. That said, our final story of the day is, am I the jerk for telling my mom she only has 1 kid? My parents divorced when my sister, 20-year-old female, and I, 19-year-old male, were 5 and 6 years old. She met her new husband 3 years later. He was a widower with a 7-month-old son. I think he was 7 months old when they met. She instantly moved them in and started claiming his son as her own and raising him like us. She got engaged to him, and a few weeks before the wedding, our dad died. By this point, my mom had just become estranged from her entire extended family. She told my dad's parents that if they wanted to see us again soon, they would need to come to her wedding and watch all 3 of us, including my stepbrother. She then told them after the wedding that going forward, if they wanted to see us or spend time with us, they had to include my stepbrother. They hadn't wanted to. They tried to argue for time with just us, offering to pay for it all 100%, but mom said no. She said they needed to come to the house and make an effort with all 3, and not just take 2 with them. My sister and I would argue with mom over one day in particular, my dad's birthday. We celebrated that every year with dad's family after he died, but she wouldn't even let that day be just us and them. Our stepbrother had to be there. She said that they didn't get to just be our family, and we shouldn't see him as any less deserving of being present. But we did. He wasn't our dad's kid, and had never met him. So why was he deserving of being there? I never got that. She called us selfish for that mindset. Last year I turned 18, and I moved in with my girlfriend. Once I left home, my stepbrother was no longer invited to anything to do with my dad's family. He no longer saw them. My sister and I also stopped spending any time at mom's house. Then we stopped speaking to them at all. It was quiet for several months, and then last week, mom showed up where I work and demanded we talk. She told me how she was tired of one of her kids being left out and how sick it was to discard him that way, and why wasn't my sister and I advocating for him? I told her she only had 1 kid, her stepson, and that my sister and I were no longer her kids, and my family were no longer forced to include him to see us, and that it was all her fault for forcing it in the first place. Then I wished her luck, which was kinda sarcastic, not gonna lie, and then asked her to leave. She texted me later that night to say she'd been a good mom to all 3 of us, and to say that she only had 1 kid was low. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. I think it's unfair to try to force anybody to love or see anybody in a role that they legitimately aren't. If you're gonna try to play games with kids, who they can and can't celebrate things with, and not even with the kids, with their grandparents also, it shouldn't be surprising that as they grow up, they grow to resent you. I'm just not surprised things turned out the way they did, and I think OP's not the jerk. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.